Hello, Internet. I know it's been a while since you've seen my face, and well, it's because it's been a little bit busy these past 3 months, so yeah. Given that it's close to the end of the year, I figured I wanted to make some videos that I've been wanting to make, but have not really been able to make because of reasons of time. They're not going to be super complicated. These are just rants that I kind of want to throw out there. Partially inspired by a rant posted by one Shad Engelterra. His last name has always been tricky for me to pronounce. But he posted a rant talking about Star Wars The Force Awakens. Now, I get it. Everybody's talking about Star Wars. Now, this rant, and it's going to be kind of one of my 4 slapdash minimal editing rants about stuff. And I figured, well, Star Wars is the topic everybody's talking about, so I'll go ahead and kind of open with a Star Wars rant. Now, this isn't going to be about The Force Awakens, because if you guys want to know my thoughts about The Force Awakens, you can look up our most recent episode of Geek News Reviews and Opinions, which was where we all saw The Force Awakens and discussed it. So, this is actually going to be about something else. Something that I think people are a little too eager to latch onto. George Lucas did not start in the middle of the story. Now, I know some of you may think, oh, but it's called Episode 4. Now, and in the only bit of editing you're going to get in this video, that's a bit of a mistake. If you happen to have this run of DVDs for the original Star Wars trilogy, you'll notice that on the second disc, it actually has the unaltered versions, the ones without all of the edits for the special edition. Now, if you look at the unaltered opening for the original A New Hope, you'll notice that it doesn't actually say Episode 4. It doesn't actually say any episode number, in fact. You're probably wondering, well then why did George Lucas call Empire Episode 5 if this is more or less Episode 1? If you're wanting to know why, you have to look at the mindset, kind of what went into the making of Star Wars. Now, a lot of us have pretty much talked about time and time again how Star Wars was an homage to the adventure serials like Flash Gordon, or, like, off the top of my head, Flash Gordon, Shazam, Superman, Zorro Rise Again, Zorro's Fighting Legion, and many, many others. And so the idea is that these films were an homage to those adventure serials. With these adventure serials, if you were to go into a theater when they were showing them, you didn't know what happened before unless you'd seen the previous episode, and you wouldn't know what happened after unless you saw the next episode. And the idea of what George Lucas was probably going for by calling Empire Strikes Back Episode 5 was that we skipped some episodes prior to Empire Strikes Back. The reason why people didn't really realize this was because of the fact that Empire ends on a cliffhanger, and it's directly followed up by Return of the Jedi, which is why it's labeled as Episode 6. Because the previous episode ended on a cliffhanger, naturally we wanted to know what the follow-up was. And for those of you who may not know, although I kind of doubt it if you're watching this video, the cliffhanger in question is that Luke escapes Vader after the duel on Bespin after he loses his hand, and Boba Fett has taken Han Solo to collect the bounty on him placed on him by Jabba the Hutt. Now, if you look at some of the dialogue in the opening of Empire Strikes Back, you'll notice that they're referring to past events. I mean, the moment that is kind of the big clue that, oh, we may have skipped some episodes, is an exchange between Han and Leia. Now, I know these were going to be minimal editing, but in order to illustrate it, I'm going to have to show some of these clips. So, in this particular exchange between Han and Leia, Han is talking about how he's going to leave the rebellion, and he specifically refers to that bounty hunter on Ord Mantell. This refers to that maybe during some of the other battles and missions that Han, Luke, and Leia went on for the Rebel Alliance, they probably encountered a few other things. And one of the things they probably encountered was that bounty hunter from Ord Mantell. Some people may assume that this could be referring to Boba Fett, whom we see later in the film, who is a bounty hunter that has been pursuing Han Solo ever since the initial bounty was placed. However, that could also be seen as maybe it was a different bounty hunter, because you recall that later in the film, Darth Vader and the Empire have placed a bounty on the Millennium Falcon. I know people pronounce it Falcon in America, but it just sounds so weird to not say it like that. But point being, they've placed a bounty on the ship, and so it could be pretty easy to write off at Boba Fett as simply one of the bounty hunters that just happened to be pursuing the bounty that he was going after capturing the ship, but also going after the bounty placed on by Jabba the Hutt. And that goes with the idea of, oh, this was a later episode of Serials, we've skipped 2, 3, and 4. And I think that was kind of the initial idea that George Lucas was going. But that kind of got undermined by the fact that the following episode was episode 6, since it took place directly after the events of Empire Strikes Back, and thus people naturally began to assume that the first film in the original trilogy was episode 4, even Lucas himself, thus leading to the prequel trilogy, which I will discuss a little bit in my next rant video. So, to kind of close this little short rant, no, George didn't start in the middle of the story. He didn't have this grand plan. I think it was just a case that people kind of missed the idea that Empire Strikes Back is supposed to take place after a certain number of adventures, and those were adventures that we didn't get to see between the ending of A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. That's just one thing I've wanted to talk about a little bit. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Frankly, it doesn't really matter now, since now canonically it's recognized as 4, 5, and 6. Although I've heard about people like discussing the order in which all 6 films should be watched, which it can get kind of confusing. But hey, this was just the first of 4 rant videos that I'm hoping to hammer out before this year ends. So if you watched this far and you haven't clicked away and you've enjoyed me talking about stuff like this, well, let me know in the comments below. And with that, I'll see you all next time.